Ambassador Veltar stepped off the transport shuttle and immediately felt something was wrong. His 6 legs clicked nervously against the metal deck of Earth's orbital station as he adjusted his breathing apparatus. The air here smelled different from what his species was used to. Not dangerous, just strange. His briefing had been clear. Humans were a young species, barely out of their planetary infancy. They had soft skin with no natural armor, dull teeth that couldn't pierce hide, and weak limbs that couldn't crush bone. By all galactic standards, they should have been prey animals that somehow got lucky enough to develop technology before going extinct. "Welcome to Station Liberty," came a cheerful voice in perfect Zephyrian. Veltar turned his compound eyes toward the speaker and saw exactly what he expected. A small, pink creature with strange fur only on top of its head. The human female wore simple blue clothing and had a wide opening in her face that showed tiny, flat teeth. "I am Kate Morrison, Earth's ambassador to the Zephyrian Empire," she said, extending one of her thin appendages toward him. "We're so excited to meet you." Veltar cautiously touched her hand with one of his claws, remembering the briefing about human greeting customs. The skin was incredibly soft and warm. How did these creatures survive anything? "Thank you for receiving me, Ambassador Morrison," he replied, his translator converting his clicking sounds into human speech. "I look forward to learning about your people." Kate smiled and gestured for him to follow. "Let me show you around our station. I think you'll find humans pretty interesting." As they walked through the corridors, Veltar noticed other humans going about their business. Workers in bright yellow suits, children with their parents, elderly humans moving slowly but purposefully. All of them looked so fragile. Their eyes were positioned forward on their faces like predators, which confused him, but everything else about them screamed prey species. They entered a large observation deck with massive windows showing Earth below. The blue and green planet looked peaceful enough, though Veltar could see storm systems that would terrify most civilized species. "This is our recreation area," Kate explained. "Crew members come here to relax during their shifts." That's when Veltar saw it. Walking directly toward them was a creature that made his entire exoskeleton shiver with instinctual fear. It was massive, easily reaching Kate's waist, with powerful muscles moving under thick fur. Its head was broad and strong, equipped with a mouth full of gleaming white fangs designed for tearing flesh. Most terrifying of all were its eyes, dark, intelligent, and positioned like a hunter's. Every survival instinct Veltar had developed over millions of years of evolution screamed at him to run. This was clearly an apex predator, the kind of beast that would stalk prey through tall grass before striking with lethal precision. But Kate Morrison was walking straight toward it. "Oh, good. Rex found us," she said happily, completely unafraid of the approaching death machine. Veltar's legs locked up. His translator started making confused, beeping sounds as it tried to process what was happening. The predator was now close enough to kill Kate with a single bite, and she was reaching out her hand toward its head. "This is Rex," Kate said, her fingers disappearing into the creature's fur as she scratched behind its pointed ears. "He's been my best friend for 8 years now." The creature's tail began moving back and forth rapidly. Its mouth opened, showing even more sharp teeth, but instead of attacking, a long pink tongue emerged. The beast was happy? "Best friend," Veltar managed to whisper. His translator struggled with the concept. In Zephyrian society, predators were either avoided, caged, or destroyed. They were certainly never befriended. Rex turned his attention to Veltar, and the alien ambassador felt his heart skip several beats. Those dark eyes studied him with clear intelligence, evaluating him as either threat, prey, or something else entirely. "Rex, this is Ambassador Veltar from the Zephyrian Empire," Kate said in the same tone she might use to introduce two colleagues. "He's here to learn about humans." To Veltar's absolute shock, Rex sat down and tilted his head slightly, still watching the alien but showing no aggression. The creature's tail continued to wag. "He likes meeting new people," Kate explained. "Would you like to pet him? He's very gentle." Veltar stared at her in disbelief. Pet the apex predator? The idea was so foreign to his mind that his translator gave up entirely and started showing error messages. You keep this hunter as a companion?" he finally managed to ask. Kate looked confused by the question. Of course. Rex's family. Most humans have pets. Dogs, cats, sometimes even larger animals. They're wonderful companions. As Veltar watched, other humans passed by the recreation area. Several stopped to greet Rex, scratching his head or speaking to him in gentle voices. Children ran up to play with the beast, completely fearless. Everything Veltar thought he knew about humans had just been turned upside down. Dr. Crixinael slammed her four hands down on the metal table, causing her research notes to scatter across the floor of her laboratory aboard the Scientific Pride. The tall, blue-skinned scientists had been studying alien species for over 200 years, and she had never encountered reports this ridiculous. Impossible, she hissed to her assistant, Dr. Vexrim, who was carefully organizing specimen samples nearby. These initial contact reports must be wrong. No intelligent species would willingly live alongside apex predators. The data pad in front of her showed Ambassador Veltar's official report from a human orbital station. According to his account, humans not only live with dangerous creatures, but actually call them friends and family members. The whole thing sounded like a badly written piece of fiction. Perhaps the humans are using some form of mind control technology? Vexrim suggested, his tentacles nervously twitching as he spoke. Many advanced species have developed ways to dominate lesser creatures. Dr. Crixinael shook her head firmly. The scan showed no technological implants in these pets. No neural dampeners. No behavioral modification devices. Nothing. According to Veltar, these predators are completely free to leave or attack at any time, but they choose not to. She stood up and paced around her laboratory. Her long legs carried her past shelves filled with preserved specimens from dozens of worlds. In all her travels, she had never encountered anything like what the humans claimed to do. I'm requesting immediate field study authorization, she announced. We need to observe these humans in their natural habitat, not on some sterile space station. If they really are living with predators, we need to document it properly. 3 weeks later, Dr. Crixinael found herself crouched behind a cluster of tall green plants that humans called trees, watching the most impossible sight of her scientific career. Her recording equipment was running continuously as she observed a small human settlement in what her maps indicated was a Colorado wilderness region. The human male, according to their intelligence files, was named Ryan Cooper. He was a typical specimen of his species, standing about 6 feet tall with brown fur on his head and face. What made him extraordinary was what lived with him in his wooden shelter. 3 massive wolves moved freely around the property. Dr. Crixinael had studied wolf genetics extensively, and these were not domesticated animals. They were pure wilderness predators, each one capable of bringing down prey much larger than human. Their muscles rippled under thick gray and brown fur as they patrolled the area with clear intelligence and purpose. This is Dr. Crixinael, day 15 of human observation, she whispered into her recording device. The subject continues to cohabitate with 3 Class A predators without any apparent restraint systems. The wolves show no signs of aggression toward the human, despite multiple opportunities for attack. Through her powerful magnification scope, she watched Ryan emerge from his dwelling, carrying what appeared to be food. Instead of defending his meal from the wolves, he actually shared portions of it with them, placing me directly into their powerful jaws without fear. But what she witnessed next made her question everything she thought she knew about biological relationships. A small human child, no more than 5 years old according to her age estimation charts, came running out of the dwelling. The little girl had long blonde hair and wore bright red clothing that would make her visible to predators from great distances. Every survival instinct should have told her to hide from the wolves. Instead, she ran straight toward the largest wolf, a massive gray male that could easily crush her small bones with a single bite. Impossible, Dr. Crickle breathed, her hands trembling as she adjusted her recording equipment. The wolf lowered his great head as the child approached, and she wrapped her tiny arms around his thick neck in what humans apparently called a hug. The predator's tail began wagging, and he gently licked her face with his tongue. The child should be dead, Dr. Crixinael whispered to Vexrim through their communication link. That creature could snap her spine with one bite. Its jaws are designed to crush bone and tear flesh. But instead of violence, She watched the most tender scene unfold before her scientific instruments. The three wolves followed the child as she played in the grass, forming a protective circle around her. When she stumbled and fell, the largest wolf immediately moved to help her up, using his nose to gently push her back to her feet. As evening approached, Dr. Crixenale prepared to return to her ship, assuming the humans would secure themselves inside their dwelling away from the dangerous predators. What happened next would haunt her dreams for years to come. The child, who her files identified as 5-year-old Lily Cooper, entered the dwelling with all three wolves following behind her. Through thermal imaging, Dr. Crixenale watched in horror as the small human lay down on her sleeping platform with the largest wolf curling up beside her, his massive body serving as both pillow and blanket. "The child is using the apex predator as sleeping comfort," she reported, her voice shaking. "This defies every law of biology, evolution, and common sense that we understand." Throughout the night, her equipment recorded the wolves taking turns standing guard while the child slept safely between them. They were not just tolerating her presence. They were actively protecting her. Dr. Crixenale realized she would need to completely rewrite her understanding of predator-prey relationships. The great crystal dome of the Galactic Council chamber had never witnessed such chaos. Emergency sessions were rare enough, but this one was different. Representatives from 12 of the galaxy's most ancient and powerful civilizations sat in their designated sections, each species more agitated than the next. Council leader Thaxmore, a towering crystal being whose body reflected light in countless rainbow patterns, struck his gavel against the resonating platform. The sound echoed to the chamber like thunder, finally bringing some measure of order to proceedings. "Fellow council members," Thaxmore's voice boomed through the universal translators, "we have gathered today to address what may be the most significant biological anomaly in recorded galactic history. The species known as humans appear to be living in impossible harmony with their planet's apex predators." Murmurs of disbelief rippled through the assembled delegates. The Zephyrians clicked their mandibles nervously, while the gaseous nebula collective swirled in agitated patterns within their containment fields. "I call upon each race to present their findings," Thaxmore continued. "Let us begin with our oceanic specialists, the Nautiloids." Ambassador Fluxwave rose from the water-filled chamber that housed the squid-like delegates. His tentacles gestured frantically as he spoke, his bioluminescent patches flashing with excitement and fear. "Council members, what we have witnessed defies every law of marine biology known to our species," Fluxwave began, his voice gurgling through the translation system. "We observed a human male named Ben Walker swimming freely in Earth's southern oceans, specifically in waters infested with what they call great white sharks." The chamber fell silent. Great white sharks were legendary even among spacefaring species. The Nautiloids had cataloged them as one of the most efficient predators in known space, with bite forces capable of crushing spacecraft hulls. "This human," Fluxwave continued, "not only entered their hunting territory voluntarily, but the sharks approached him without aggression. Our recording equipment captured footage of a 4-meter female shark, allowing the human to touch her skin. She remained calm while he swam beside her for over 20 minutes. Several delegates made sounds of distress. The silicon-based Christex began resonating at frequencies that indicated extreme anxiety. "Impossible," whispered Delegate Sharkai of the Christex Collective, her crystalline body chiming like broken glass. "But if our aquatic friends speak truth, then our own observations become even more disturbing." She stood, her faceted form catching and scattering light across the chamber walls. "We documented a human female, Amy Stone, in the Siberian regions of Earth. She was hand-feeding what humans call Siberian tigers. These are massive predators with retractable claws and fangs designed for killing large prey. Sharkai activated a holographic display that showed the impossible scene. A small human woman sat cross-legged in snow, while a massive orange and black striped predator approached her. The tiger, easily 3 times her size, accepted food directly from her bare hands. The predator showed no aggression," Sharkai continued, her voice trembling with confusion. "In fact, it appeared to enjoy the human's presence. Our thermal scanners detected elevated body temperature in the tiger, indicating pleasure and contentment. The human was completely vulnerable, yet completely safe." The energy being's approximate collective began pulsing with agitated light patterns. Their spokesman, a shifting mass of control plasma, spoke next. Our findings are equally disturbing. The energy being communicated through electromagnetic pulses. We observe human Alex Turner in North American wilderness, sharing his primitive fire-making technology with a family group of massive bears. These creatures, which humans call grizzly bears, are capable of crushing tree trunks with their claws. The holographic display shifted to show a bearded human man sitting beside a crackling fire, while three enormous brown bears lay nearby. One bear, larger than most ground vehicles, rested its massive head just inches from a human's legs. The male human was sharing his food with these predators. The energy being continued. Two juvenile bears played near him while the adult female groomed herself, showing complete trust. Our scanners detected no technological control devices, no chemical suppressants, no neural manipulation of any kind. Thaxmore struck his gavel again as worried conversations broke out across the chamber. Order. We must maintain order. The arachnid delegate, Spinner Zektov, raised 4 of her 8 legs to request attention. Council leader, these reports confirm our worst fears. We have documented similar impossibilities across Earth. Humans living with creatures that should hunt them, feed on them, or at minimum compete with them for resources. But how? Demanded the warrior poet representative of the Saurian Empire. How did these soft, weak creatures not only survive their planet's evolution, but somehow convince apex predators to become their allies? The chamber buzzed with theories and speculation. Some suggested advanced genetic manipulation. Others proposed mind control technology beyond their understanding. The more paranoid delegates whispered about humans possessing some form of biological warfare that could turn any creature into their servant. Thaxmore pounded his gavel repeatedly, his crystalline body glowing brighter with each strike. The evidence is clear, fellow counselors. Humans possess an ability that we do not understand. They have formed cooperative bonds with creatures that should be their natural enemies. A young delegate from the Insectoid Hive Mind Collective spoke up, her voice barely audible through the translator. Council leader, if humans can befriend apex predators, what does this mean for us? Could they potentially turn our own species' dangerous creatures against us? Or worse, could they somehow make allies of us? The question hung in the air like a toxic cloud. For the first time in galactic history, the elder races realized they might be dealing with a species whose greatest weapon was not technology or physical prowess, but something far more dangerous, the ability to turn enemies into friends. The massive holographic display in the Galactic Council chamber flickered to life, showing a transmission from Earth. Dr. Rachel Bennett appeared on screen, sitting calmly in what looked like a simple office space. Behind her, something that made several council members gasp in terror, a massive Bengal tiger lay stretched across the floor like an enormous house cat. The tiger was huge, easily weighing over 400 pounds, with muscles that rippled under its orange and black striped coat. Its powerful jaws could crush bone with a single bite, and its claws were designed for bringing down prey much larger than humans. Yet there it was, lounging peacefully just feet away from Dr. Bennett, occasionally yawning and showing teeth that could tear through metal. "Greetings, honored council members," Dr. Bennett said with a warm smile, completely ignoring the deadly predator behind her. "I understand you've been having some difficulty understanding our relationship with what you call apex predators." Thaxmore leaned forward, his crystalline body catching the light from the transmission. "Dr. Bennett, for your own safety, perhaps you should move away from that creature before we continue." Dr. Bennett actually laughed, a sound that made the tiger's ears twitch with what looked like amusement. "You mean King? He's perfectly harmless." "Well, harmless to me anyway. He's been my research partner for 6 years now." As if responding to his name, the massive tiger lifted his great head and looked directly at Dr. Bennett with obvious affection. His tail flicked lazily, and he made a sound that was somewhere between a purr and a rumble. "You see, council members, you're thinking about this completely backwards," Dr. Bennett continued, reaching behind her to scratch King behind his ears. The gesture that should have resulted in her arm being torn off, instead, made the tiger close his eyes in contentment. Your report suggests that humans somehow survived despite being surrounded by dangerous predators, she explained. But that's not what happened at all. We survived because of them. Through mutual cooperation and partnership, both our species, and has became more successful than either could have been alone. The nautiloid delegate, Fluxwave, wave his tentacles in confusion. But how is this possible? Predators compete with other species for resources. They hunt and kill to survive. Basic biological programming should prevent such cooperation. Dr. Bennett nodded thoughtfully. That's true for most species, but humans developed something different during our evolution. We learned to form emotional bonds across species barriers. We call it empathy, but it's much more than just understanding another creature's feelings. She gestured to King, who had now rolled onto his side like an oversized house cat. When early humans first encountered wolves, most other species would have seen them as competitors or threats. But some humans saw potential partners. They recognized that wolves had hunting skills we lacked, while we had tools and fire that could benefit them. The energy beings of Proxima began pulsing with rapid light patterns, indicating high interest. Their spokesman materialized his thoughts into words. You speak of evolutionary adaptation. Are you suggesting humans develop the ability to emotionally manipulate other species? Not manipulate. Dr. Bennett corrected firmly. Partner, there's a huge difference. Manipulation involves force or deception. What humans do is build genuine emotional connections. We form what we call packs, family units that include members from different species. She stood up and walked over to King, who immediately rolled onto his back so she could rub his enormous belly. The sight of a human voluntarily approaching such a dangerous predator made several council members retreat further into their protective barriers. This is what your military analysts have been calling weaponized empathy, Dr. Bennett continued, her hands moving through King's thick fur. But that term misses a point entirely. It's not a weapon because both parties benefit equally. King here gets regular meals, medical care, a safe territory, and emotional companionship. In return, he provides protection, assistance with my research, and friendship. The Christek delegate, Shardkai, resonated at a frequency indicating deep confusion. But this defies natural selection. Predators should eliminate competition, not protect it. Dr. Bennett smiled and returned to her seat. King immediately moved to lie down next to her chair, positioning himself where he could watch both her and the camera simultaneously. Natural selection favored humans who could form these bonds, she explained. Think about it logically. A human with a wolf partner could hunt larger prey, had better protection at night, and could raise children more safely. The wolf got access to human tools, fire for warmth, and shared food during lean times. Both species thrived. General Peter Collins, Earth's military representative, stepped into the camera frame. Council members, what Dr. Bennett is describing has become humanity's greatest strength. We don't just form bonds with animals. We form them with each other across tribal lines, with artificial intelligences, and potentially with other species we meet in space. The implications of his words settled over the chamber like a heavy blanket. If humans could form genuine emotional partnerships with apex predators, what might they be capable of with advanced alien civilizations? The question you should be asking, Dr. Bennett concluded, isn't how we survived alongside predators. It's whether you're ready to discover what partnership with humans might mean for your own species. Behind her, King yawned and settled in for a nap, completely at peace in a universe full of danger. The secure meeting room deep within the Galactic Threat Assessment Facility had seen many discussions about dangerous species over the centuries. But today's emergency session was different. Admiral Crixtol of the assessment board stared at the holographic display, showing humanity's updated classification file, his 6 eyes blinking in sequence as he processed the implications. Motion approved, he announced to the assembled board members. Humanity's threat level is hereby upgraded from Level 2, harmless herbivores, to Level 8, diplomatic anomaly, high priority. The change sent shockwaves through the galactic intelligence community. Level 8 classifications were reserved for species that could fundamentally alter the balance of power in the galaxy, not through military might or advanced technology, but through something far more unpredictable. Within days, The news had spread through diplomatic channels across known space. Trade negotiations that had been proceeding normally suddenly took on new urgency and complexity. Species that had barely acknowledged human existence were now sending urgent requests for embassy meetings and cultural exchange programs. The Zephyrian Empire's response was perhaps the most telling. Ambassador Veltar received new orders that left him staring at his communication device in complete bewilderment. His superiors wanted him to prepare friendship gifts for the next diplomatic summit with Earth. The gifts weren't the usual ceremonial artwork or rare metals that typically change hands between civilizations. They wanted him to bring predators. 2 weeks later, Veltar found himself standing in the cargo bay of a Zephyrian transport ship, looking at 3 containment units that held some of his homeworld's most dangerous creatures. Saberclaws, as humans would probably call them, were 6-legged hunting beasts with retractable blade-like appendages and enough venom to drop a full-grown Christek. They were the kind of creatures that Zephyrian children had nightmares about. The High Command believes these gifts will demonstrate our desire for friendship with the humans, his aide Klexrin explained nervously. If humans can truly bond with apex predators, as the report suggests, perhaps they can form partnerships with our most dangerous species as well. Veltar wasn't entirely convinced this was a good idea, but orders were orders. The transport docked with Earth's orbital station, and the containment units were carefully transferred to a secure facility where human xenobiologists could study them safely. What happened next surprised everyone involved. Dr. Lisa Chun, Earth's lead xenobiologist, spent exactly 3 days with the Saberclaws before one of them was following her around an enclosure like a devoted pet. The creature, which had terrorized Zephyrian settlements for thousands of years, was purring. Actually purring. It's remarkable, Dr. Chen reported to Veltar during their weekly briefing. Once I figured out their body language and social cues, building trust was surprisingly straightforward. They're actually quite intelligent and social. They just needed someone to treat them as individuals rather than monsters. Veltar's compound eyes couldn't quite process what he was seeing through the observation window. The largest Saberclaw, a creature that could have shredded through his exoskeleton like paper, was gently headbutting Dr. Chen's hand and making soft chirping sounds. News of the successful bonding spread quickly through the Zephyrian government. Other species began sending their own impossible-to-tame predators to Earth, curious to see if humans could work the same magic with their local nightmare creatures. The results were consistently astounding. Crystalline scorpion spiders from the Christek worlds became gentle gardening assistants. Void swimmers from the gaseous regions of Proxima started performing tricks for human researchers. Even the Nautiloid's most feared deep-sea hunters began showing affection toward human marine biologists. Months passed, and Veltar established a permanent embassy on Earth's surface. He found himself spending more and more time simply observing human behavior, trying to understand what made them so different from every other species in the galaxy. One evening, as Earth's sun was setting and painting the sky in brilliant orange and pink colors, Veltar stood at his embassy window, watching the street below. A human male named Jake Patterson was walking home from work when he stopped to talk to his neighbor's child, a little girl about 7 years old. The child was playing in her front yard with Rex, the same massive German shepherd that had terrified Veltar during his first visit to the station. But now, watching them together, he saw something entirely different. "Like this, sweetie," Jake was saying as he knelt down beside the girl. "Dogs like it when you scratch behind their ears, but always let them smell your hand first so they know you're friendly." The little girl, barely reaching Rex's shoulder even when the dog was sitting, carefully extended her tiny hand. Rex sniffed it gently, then wagged his tail and lowered his great head so she could reach his ears. Her small fingers disappeared into his thick fur as she scratched carefully, exactly as Jake had shown her. Rex's tail wagged so hard his entire back and wiggled with joy. The massive predator, bred from wolves that had once hunted humans across frozen landscapes, was completely gentle with a child who could have been injured by his enthusiasm alone. "Good job, Claire," Jake said proudly. "See how happy you made him?" Claire giggled as Rex's tongue licked her face, and she wrapped her arms around his thick neck in a hug that would have been impossible with any wild creature. Veltar watched this scene with growing understanding. It wasn't just that humans could tame predators or force them into submission. They could genuinely care for other species and inspire that same care in return. They saw potential friends where others saw only threats. Perhaps, Veltar whispered to his aide, who had joined him at the window, the galaxy needs more of whatever makes them do that. As if summoned by his words, the evening air filled with a haunting sound. In the distance, a pack of wolves living in the city's nature preserve began their nightly song, howling in complex harmonies that spoke of wild freedom and ancient bonds. The city's emergency sirens, scheduled for their weekly tests, joined the chorus with their mechanical wails. Instead of conflict between the natural and artificial sounds, they created something beautiful together, just like everything else humans seem to touch.